Hello, my name is Jessica and I'm going to be presenting on a study that focused on learning about predatory instincts in mice and also their hunting patterns. Okay, so a little background information. Mammals, an important part of mammal hunting is an articulated jaw. So what that means is it's a jaw that opens and closes that has objects or formations for grasping or biting. And previously, little is known about mammal hunting behaviors because in labs, mice are just given food pellets and they don't have to think about eating. It's just they're given the food, they eat it, and so there's not a lot to study or observe in the lab previously. And why this is important, one article kind of made an analogy that's kind of interesting. They said if aliens were studying our eating habits, but they only studied us in public settings, they wouldn't be able to apply that knowledge to us in private settings in our home. So that's kind of why this article or this study is important. Okay, so the original question from the researchers was, how does the brain control predation? And then a couple interpretations of the original question was to learn about predators' instincts, and then also to learn about mammal hunting in a natural habitat. So this study was conducted with some new technology in neurobiology that's super cool and interesting called optogenics and chemogenics. So what that means is they injected the specific neurons they were studying with a light-sensitive protein. And then they hit those neurons with a laser or light, and that stimulated a response from them. So if the researchers predicted that this neuron was responsible for biting, and they injected the neuron and then they shot it with a laser and it elicited a response, that would support their hypothesis that that neuron was responsible for biting. And then one article described it as scientific mind control, which is kind of an interesting, a little bit misleading interpretation of it. Okay, so the results were stimulation of central amygdala elicited a hunting response of live and artificial prey. And then reticular formation controlled biting attacks, and periaductal gray controlled locomotion during pursuit. So basically that just means that there is a couple different aspects of the brain that are important for specific parts of hunting. And then a little more specific results is the mice attacked crickets, sticks, bottle caps, but not other mice. And then mice that were hungry were more responsive to the lasers, and mice that weren't hungry were less responsive to the lasers. Okay, so a couple implications for this study. It could help us to understand the evolution of an articulated jaw. It could also help us understand the natural hunting behaviors in mammals. And one article went as far as to say this could help us understand why humans struggle with overeating. So I think it was kind of relating human overeating to human hunting and getting too much food. So that's kind of an interesting study. And then another implication is kind of an ethical implication, which I'll kind of get out with the next slide. So a lot of these articles that I read focused on a very theatrical view of this study. So for example, Johnston said, or his headline was, "Mice can be turned into Walking Dead style zombie killers." And if someone was to click on that heading, it's kind of scary. It could kind of make them nervous about this new technology in neurobiology and wonder about the ethics behind it. So that's just one way that headlines like that can be misleading and almost harmful. And one author, Chadouche, focused on discrediting this misleading headlines, and he said we need to focus on the science and the curiosity behind this. And it's not mind control, it's just triggering these animals' natural instincts. They didn't eat other mice, they simply triggered hunting in a lab setting. And then it's kind of an alternative interpretation that I didn't notice in very many articles is an evolutionary interpretation. The original study kind of focused on evolution a little bit, and how this could help us better understand the evolution of hunting and articulated jaws. But in the articles that I read in popular sources, they didn't really focus on the evolution at all. So that could have been another interpretation. Yeah, and I'll show you my sources. Okay, thank you so much.